Over the past decades, movie studios have been getting less and less creative. In this video, I'm going to talk about a couple different live action remakes of animated films and TV shows that failed and some that succeeded. My name is Ayande Joseph. I'm your host on the Visual Verse. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. For some reason, Hollywood has been less creative or less willing to put their money in more original and creative ventures. Thus, they've returned to animated works that they are confident in that did really well. Some examples of these are Avatar: The Last Airbender, How to Train Your Dragon, Lilo and Stitch, Aladdin, The Lion King, Pokemon, and Sonic. In this video, I'm specifically going to focus on Avatar: The Last Airbender, Aladdin, and How to Train Your Dragon. The animated Avatar: The Last Airbender show was easily one of my favorite animated shows in history, one of my favorite shows, period. But they made the live action remake, which I have a lot of reserves about. First off, the characters were pretty different than what they were in the original show, changing up the personalities and the characteristics that really made them the people that we loved in the animated show. Taking this away truly made it feel not the same story, and in fact it wasn't the same story, as there were many different plot points that they changed to really suit themselves better and more Hollywoodize it. In an aspect, it really was a completely different show. It was a sibling or a cousin of the original animated show, and this left me not feeling satisfied, as well as the greater audience. Rotten Tomatoes gave the original series 100%. Now, they don't hand those out loosely, and that is really good. It speaks credit to an animated show, which is one of the few that has ever reached 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. The live action story got a 62%, so that's a drop off of 38%, which is pretty large. And now, yes, that is considerably better than the original movie that they made, the live action one back in 2012, which got a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, so that's not even worth our time talking about. Next, let's move on to Aladdin. Now, this movie I saw a couple years ago, and I love Will Smith, and I actually did enjoy watching this movie, and I didn't have as bad feelings or reactions as I did to the Avatar: The Last Airbender differences. Now, I would say the characters weren't changed as much. You know, we still had our base, Aladdin, Jasmine, and the genie, but they were definitely different characters, of more side characters and kind of more fluffiness to make it seem more elaborate than the original animated movie was. So in aspect, it really was a different movie. The original movie got a really high 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the live action remake got a 57%. This is almost a 40% decrease, which is larger than Avatar: The Last Airbender. So clearly there's a direct drop off between the live action remake and the original animated movie or TV show, really showing the same things I'm feeling, that when you take an animated show or movie that was absolutely amazing and you format it into a live action remake just to make money and to capitalize and to off the nostalgia factor of the audience, you don't do as well. But I am here to tell you that I think I've seen this done successfully, but there is a big caveat. Over the past weekend, I got to see an early screening of the live action How to Train Your Dragon movie coming out on June 13th. Now, I am one of the biggest fans of the animated movie series How to Train Your Dragon. They are absolutely perfect, with my favorite one being the second one. Now, this live action remake was the exact same movie as How to Train Your Dragon. There were lines that were the exact same from the animated movie that were used in the live action movie. There were exact same scenes. It literally was just taking the animated movie and saying, let's now make it live action, and doing scene for scene, word for word comparison. It is literally the exact same 100% replica. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because this movie has not been reviewed by Rotten Tomatoes yet. But the original animated movie got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, again, really proving how great of a story it was. So I am incredibly interested to see what Rotten Tomatoes will rate this movie, because honestly, I did really enjoy the live action movie. I mean, it was really cool seeing everything in the animated movie, but in a live action, more realistic, dynamic and aspect. The visual effects and the graphics of the movie were actually breathtaking. I felt like I was in an old Scottish Viking world that had dragons flying around, and I feel like they did such a great job incorporating everything from the original animated movie and really not losing any of the magic. You know, having that same soundtrack that just really fills you up with a happiness and a joyfulness inside, and so I can't wait to see what comes from it. Now, this does beg the bigger question: why would you remake a movie if it's gonna be the exact same. And yes, that is a really alarming fact, but it's just the truth that there's so many fans like me who have that nostalgia for the original animated movie or TV show and are willing to see it even if it's worse quality. Thus, film studios are not hesitant at all to reform the original animated movie or TV show that was brilliant into a live action remake. And I feel like, yes, this does lose so much originality, and that's just like the opposite of where we want to be going. I do think that this will eventually seed because there's only so many animated things that you can remake. And I really do hope that they take this as, you know, inspiration to be more original and come up with new things. There's a question of, you know, can this new live action How to Train Your Dragon movie could have been the fourth one and, you know, the one after this. And I feel like that's hard when you look at Marvel or Star Wars, these universes where they're able to mesh animated and live action, and they actually do it pretty well. With Star Wars having some of their best TV shows in the animated format, it does work and it is possible. I feel like it just requires a lot of creativity from the producers, the writers, and just the overall willingness from the audience to see animated films, because most people don't see animated films or TV shows. There's definitely a bigger hesitancy. I think that is changing with a lot more people being interested in anime and animation in general, but I think that this is a big question for everyone to ponder. Whether you're a director, whether you're a story writer, whether you're a fan, whether you're an actor, it's just a lot for us to see. What are we willing to do in the future? And I encourage everyone to remain as original as possible and always look to push frontiers and push the boundaries. Don't get me wrong, I love my live action remakes that are done well, but usually they're not, as I've gone over in this video. Please let me know your ideas in the comments below. Are you guys gonna see this live action How to Train Your Dragon movie? If not, why? With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time.